Good night. It is December 10, 2025, and it's a Wednesday. This is my second time trying this out. I was stumbling over my words, and I was embarrassed by that, so I'm going to try this again. Here in Sherbrooke, it is negative 2 degrees Celsius, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. The sun this morning rose at 7:16 a.m., and it set at 4:04 p.m. For, I believe, the third day in a row. That's 8 hours and 48 minutes of sunlight. However, don't let that 4:04 p.m. streak lead you astray. We must not forget that the days are getting shorter. Today I woke up late at like past 1:30 p.m., but I felt really good to sleep that much. I really needed it. I went to bed way too late. It's not even just like, catching up from like my sleep debt or anything. Just went to bed very late and drank alcohol, as I do every day. But it was like pretty much the equivalent of 10 beers, which is not a good amount to be drinking. I mean, a good amount for me to be drinking is 0, I've learned over the years, but it's more than the sort of like 8 beer per night if I'm drinking at home alone. Like usual amount. And I went to bed late. I watched that Wilco documentary, I'm Trying to Break Your Heart, which is very good. It's a good documentary. I give it an 8 out of 10. There was less footage of the actual recording of Yankee Hotel Foxtrot than I thought there would be. There's a lot of live footage from, there's a couple songs from Jeff Tweedy doing solo acoustics stuff, and a few songs from shows before the album came out. And then also, like, one thing that I didn't enjoy as much is that there were some of these songs that were the non-Yankee Hotel Foxtrot songs that I didn't really enjoy that much. One thing that's cool is that, the film just shows the entire performance of the song, right? So it's not like little clips of songs. I mean, there is that as well, but I think the time is just like, if it's going to show you a song from a show, and then one was like cut together from a couple shows, which is, I know, something that is done, but that I find a little bit obnoxious, especially if like the band members are dressed completely differently. It's like, I would rather watch a less visually like interesting performance, like as far as the edit goes, of a live performance, than to see like footage from a different performance obviously being cut, and that's distracting. But it was an interesting documentary. It was funny. A little sad because what is that guy's name? The member who got kicked out right before the album came out. Jay Bennett, rest in peace, Jay Bennett. And I guess another thing I don't know is, okay, because like there was like obviously some strife within the band, which led to Jay Bennett being asked to leave before the album was released. But there's some scenes in the documentary which show some of this conflict, but that's like, are they shown? Because like one thing that's cool is that like this is not like a some kind of monster sort of situation that Metallica documented, which is like about the drama within this band. And it's not even like that much about, like, like I said, like it's not as much a document of the recording process. Like I was interested in seeing more stuff with Jim O'Rourke, but he is in one shot smoking a cigarette with Jeff Tweedy on the couch. We don't see any of that. What we do see is like we see the end of the recording of the album, and then some time in studio, which then shows some of that friction and conflict between Jay Bennett and Jeff Tweedy. And so, yeah, it's like, it's not so much about, like I was saying, a document of the recording of this album, but more about, like, this very particular moment in time where this unique thing happened, which is like, all right, so spoilers, but you can read about this on Wikipedia. They ended up leaving their label. So, like, the album was supposed to come out, and there were some delays, and then they gave the album, they just handed it off to the label, and the A&R guy was like, well, I want some changes. And they were like, no, we're not going to change it. And the head of Reprise Records, which was owned by Warner Brothers, who was a big Wilco fan and a champion of their work, had just left. And so there's these like changes within the company. And so the band was like, we're just not going to change anything. Like, this is the statement that we want to make. And so this was a highly anticipated album, and they like wouldn't budge. Both sides wouldn't budge, and so this information kind of leaked out, or was like getting talked about. And I guess Warner Brothers just decided, well, it is not worth the bad press and the headache, so we're going to drop Wilco from the label, but give them the album, which costs, like, according to Jeff Tweedy in the documentary, $200,000 to make. And they're just like, look, we're just going to let you go, take your album, good luck. And so they end up having a bunch of record labels trying to get this album because there's like so much buzz around it, and it's also a masterpiece. And it was None Such Records, who were also owned by Warner Brothers, who ended up buying it and putting it out. And, you have Jeff Tweedy at the end of the documentary saying, like, this is, like, unprecedented thing where, like, we took this album from Warner Brothers that they recorded for us for free for us, and we sold it back to them at, like, 3 times the amount they spent for it. Definitely worth watching if you like Wilco, if you like Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. Like, most of the musical performances of like full songs are not songs from Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. But anyway, or like you're just interested in this very singular event in rock history. Yeah, and I made a mistake. It did not come out in 2001. It came out in 2002. But it was supposed to come out in 2001. I said it was came out in 2001 yesterday. Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, but that's not the case. Okay, I've been rambling about this for a while. I want to get on with my night and not go to bed too late. Today I'm thinking about the song Razor's Edge by Emma Ruth Rundle. I wish I hadn't spent so much time talking about I'm Trying to Break Your Heart and more about this. I wanted initially to talk about the Song to the Siren. I had it in my head while I was taking a shower earlier. And I want to get into this whole story of a friend of mine that we're not friends anymore. And it makes me sad every day. Who had introduced me to that album, The Empyrean by John Frusciante. And it's a Tim Buckley song, but it's the second track on The Empyrean, a fantastic John Frusciante record. And I'm like, oh, well, I already talked about this about a year ago. And I'm like, I could talk about a song from PBX Funicular Intaglio Zone, which is one of my favorite albums, an album by John Frusciante, and also one of the most like influential albums for my music, right? But I'll have to get into that another time, because then I was thinking, like, I don't really want to talk about that. And then I was thinking about covers. And then I was thinking about Meg Baird's cover of The Waltz of the Tennis Players by Fraser and I should know this. DeBolt. Fraser and DeBolt. Fantastic song. But then I couldn't decide whether or not I wanted to talk about the cover or the original, because the cover is amazing and beautiful, and I have more of an emotional connection to it. That's Meg Baird of Espers and Heron Oblivion, although I'm not much of a fan of Espers, and I don't really know Heron Oblivion. But this song, this cover, holds a special place in my heart. It's such a beautiful song and beautiful cover, but the arrangements are really cool, and like the voices of Fraser and Bolt are great. I just couldn't choose. And I was just like looking at playlists I made of folk music or like acoustic music. And there's one playlist about like really sad songs. And then I saw Razor's Edge by Emma Ruth Rundle, which I was sure that I'd spoken about before, but I hadn't. And I started listening to the song, and then I started sobbing and crying a lot. And I don't cry often. I'm sure I've talked about this before, but I cried a lot when I was a child. But as an adult, I find it very difficult to cry. There'll be certain points where like I'll get like tears in my eyes, but like it's rare that I just like burst into tears. And I wish I could do it more because it feels really good to cry. But it's always when listening to music. Over the past, like, not always, but I'd say like 95% of the times that I've cried over the past like 15 years has been while listening to music. And it felt really, really good to cry. And the song is, I find, very sad and bleak, but also not so bleak, and also very scary. It's a song about addiction. This is an album, Engine of Hell. It's very like raw. I mean, Emma Ruth Rundle has been around for a while. It's put out several records, but as far as I know, this is the first like totally acoustic stripped down. Although I don't know if it's totally acoustic. It's been a while since I've listened to it, but there might be. Yeah, I think there's like some other stuff, but it's like it's very like minimalistic. Whereas like other stuff in the past, which I'd heard before this record and thought it was good, but I didn't really connect with it. It's a lot more like heavy, sort of like I don't want to say post-metal because I always found that really like dumb, but it's sort of like that sound. Anyway, there's probably like a better word. It's like sort of like slow and atmospheric metal, but not like sludgy. It's like it's heavy, but it's not sludgy. Anyway, but then I saw the video for the opening track of this album, Return, and I was like, this is like really good. And then the album came out, and I listened to the album, and then I listened to the song Razor's Edge, and probably started crying at that point. So yeah, it's a song about addiction, which is something that I've struggled with all of my adult life. I can definitely see the roots of it, even before I was an adult. And this song, the way that I interpret it, especially with the like biblical references and references to Cinderella, is sort of about what I think is the most terrifying and depressing part of addiction, which is like, so like, I think even people who have not like experienced addiction or like have somebody, know somebody close to you has probably heard of the concept of rock bottom, right? Where like addiction can lead to like it depends on the person, but like there's always a degradation, right? But it can be very slow, it can be very quick. It can be slow for a while, then get really quick, or it can like get quickly down to a certain point and then slowly decline. But for a lot of people, and I say probably for most people, to be able to change and like get out of that decline, and I think for most people that I've talked to or that I've heard talk about it, the way to change is to just like be abstinent. But there are some people who are able to change their relationship to whatever. I mean, I'll say behavior because like I think people often like talk about substances for obvious reasons, but it's not just that. It's like, and the problem is not the substance, the problem is the behavior, right? Uh, and so yeah, there's like the rock bottom is this event. Sorry, I'm like explaining something that probably a lot of people know already. The rock bottom can be this event or a series of events that will make it so that it's like the person will like not really feel like they have like a any other option but to change, right? And I mean, the scary part is that it's different for everybody, right? And so, like for example, like for me, it was when I was working one night and I ended up drinking. Well, I was at work. I was working at a music venue, right? Which is not uncommon for me or other people to be drinking on the job. But I ended up blacking out. I ended up like I cut off the band. I was doing the sound. I cut off the band's sound during their encore. I just like started. I have no recollection of this, but like it was a reggae show, and I really don't like reggae. And I didn't want to be there, but I needed the money. Yeah, I started like getting really angry and like throwing stuff. Like I threw some of the band's equipment. So a friend of mine who was playing that night as well, and like I took our microphone and threw a microphone, and I was just like being like just like really fucking angry. Apparently, like I wasn't like trying to like fight anybody or anything, but like totally like unacceptable behavior and something that like I didn't know I had inside of me. Like when I was a kid, I had a lot of problems with anger, but I was like, I dealt with that anger, and like I still feel anger, of course, and I still like have to watch myself, especially when I'm like emotionally not doing very well. I'll feel that anger bubbling up sometimes, and it can turn into rage, and I don't want to like bring that out in a way where it can like affect other people negatively or hurt other people. But I obviously had a lot of bottled up anger, and so that led me to. I got to get to the song. We've been talking for about 18 minutes so far. That eventually led me to quitting drinking and going to rehab, and then a relapse. And so I'm in this scary position where it's like, okay, well, what is it going to take again, right? I don't think that like a rock bottom is the only way that people can change, or that like I can change, but I'm not doing it. So, and what it took me to, and I stopped on several occasions in the past. It's like even during like the pandemic, I did like almost 2 years of not drinking. I was eating cannabis 24/7. So like, okay, I quit drinking, which is not nothing, but I wasn't like in treatment. I wasn't dealing with the core reasons behind that behavior, right? But anyway, I guess I'll paraphrase Steve-O here to go back to what's like particularly frightening. Like I saw this clip recently of Steve-O talking. Steve-O's a sober guy, has been for a long time. Somebody in like an interview was asking him about Bam Margera, right? And so he was talking about like addiction recovery and stuff. And he said something that like really struck me. He said something along the lines of like, I feel lucky that I was so out of control that like I had to hit my rock bottom, and like I didn't have the choice but to change, otherwise I was going to die. And he said like, what scares me is like I'm afraid for people who are able to just keep on scraping by, right? Like it's never enough to like force a change, but the person's never really like living their life fully, right? And that person might wake up one day and be like, I just wasted like 25 years of my life just like not fully being there, And I was like, that's the kind of person that I am. That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm doing too. And that's, I think, why I cried so much today when I listened to this song again, because I think that's what this song is about. Like, I mean, first off, like, and this really resonates with me. I actually did a performance one time where like I used a loop of these opening lines. Spending all my money as the petty cash of youth runs out, burying my body, but the dogs keep digging. That's brutal, and I feel that like profoundly, right? So like spending all my money as the petty cash of youth runs out, like you can get away with a lot when you're young. Like, and I'm still young. I'm 35. And maybe it's just like I'm hanging out with people my age and older generally. So I definitely would not have considered 35 to be pretty young when I was 20. But anyway, there's this like resilience. I think generally speaking, this sort of like inbuilt sort of like faith in the future. Maybe not hope, but just that like there's so much time ahead of you that I mean I'll be able to change. You know, I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, as the petty cash of youth runs out, right? Petty cash, you know, it's just like a very finite resource that just keeps getting replenished, but it gets harder, at least for me as I get older, right? Both the will to change, but also the even just like the physical and like psychological aspects of continuing on with this behavior. And then burying my body, but the dogs keep digging, right? Like burying my body, like numbing myself out, fleeing, trying to escape. But the dogs of reality, the dogs of that pain, they'll sniff you out, man. They'll sniff you out and keep coming for you. You know, you can't indefinitely push this back. This reality, this suffering that you're trying to avoid, like it's still there and it's still going to find you, right? And then there's no need to check the weather as my winter's never over is like, I can just really relate to that. Oh man, I get a little emotional just reading this. And in the second like verse, pass it to me, honey, as my sweetness and my lights dim down, numbing out the nightmare, but I just keep grinning. Play it down, Magdalena. No one knows that you've come undone. Looking down the mirror at the demon that I have become. Like, so like, okay, there's references to Magdalena, so like Mary Magdalene, to Lazarus, to Cinderella. So, you know, the biblical references are about like rebirth. I don't know that much about the story of Mary Magdalene, but I know that she was there with the crucifixion and resurrection in that story in the New Testament. And the reference to Cinderella as well, like being stuck between two states, right? Like, who she is really, which is, brought to life through magic of the glass slippers. But then the reality of her life of being like abused and there's only parallels between like, okay, the whole like life and death thing with Lazarus, with Jesus. But the song is also called Razor's Edge, right? Like, because I'll be dancing on the razor's edge just to feel its power, right? So like, it's that terrifying thing of just like being, okay, because also at the end, okay, because I know I'm going like out of order. It just like, I love these lyrics so much. Like, there's a repetition of like, if you have something for me, don't be holding out. If you have something left, don't be holding out. And if I have something left, I'm sure I haven't found it. But at the end, right, and this is what really ties together how scary I find this song to be. It ends with, if I had something left, I still haven't found it. And if I have something left, I might never find it out. I think you can keep dancing at on that racer's edge for a really fucking long time, right? And some people just do it until they die. And so I think that's what she's talking about in this song. It's like this fear of like, at once knowing it's possible to have that rebirth, it's possible to have that transformation, right? To becoming who you can be, who you have the potential to be, who, you might not think you deserve to be, but that you wish other people would be, right? Like, I don't think people who have to deal with these problems, would wish it on other people. It's so much suffering. It's so much like wasted time. But you might not. You might just be stuck there. There just might not be enough to. You might just not find that what you need to be able to get you out of it. So I find that really scary. And I'm so afraid of wasting my life, and I feel like I'm wasting my life. And I think that's it. I mean, there's some other stuff I want to talk about, because I'm also I have some more hope. I'll probably talk about it more another time, but I signed up for school, and I haven't heard back yet. But also, I might have an opportunity in 2027 to have steady work throughout the year, to be on tour with, I don't want to talk too much about it, but to be on tour in Canada and the US, working on a project that I think is very cool and bold and important, and that can really move people, I think, or at least show things to people who haven't been exposed to these types of things yet, right? I know it's vague, but it's just I don't know how much I'm supposed to be able to talk about it. But it would be a lot of responsibility, but very rewarding. And I don't think that there's any other point in my life that it would be better than right now. I don't have kids. I'm not in a relationship. I don't, my mom is in good health. So, I could do this, and it would be an amazing experience. But that's also scary. Okay, I gotta work tomorrow morning. I gotta get on with my night. Later tonight, it's gonna stay -2 degrees Celsius, but it's gonna start snowing again. And once again, it's gonna go up a degree Fahrenheit, but stay -2 degrees Celsius, so 29 degrees Fahrenheit. And I believe there's a heavy snow advisory. It's a yellow advisory. I don't know what the hell that means. (10 to 15 centimeters of snow). Yeah, it says the conditions could get worse on the roads due to reduced visibility and snow accumulation. So, great, snowstorm. All right. I felt good to talk. I felt really good to cry earlier. Check out Emma Ruth Rundle. Might make you cry as well. Everyone, have a great night.